Next up is Dan Small. He's the Director of Digital Strategy for Hartford Healthcare, Connecticut's most comprehensive healthcare network. A seasoned pro with 15 plus years in the industry, Dan has a passion for leveraging technology, data, and design to make it easy for customers to connect to the healthcare services they need. When he's not planning the next digital campaign, combing through data, or maintaining 20 plus healthcare websites, he can be found jamming on his guitar with his fellow bandmates. You should have brought your guitar for a morning reverie.
Well, that would certainly be more interesting than talking about the technical aspects of ROI. Can you guys hear me? How about now?
There you go.
So I'm a little bit tired because it took about a fortnight to get here on the horse and buggy from the hinterlands of Connecticut, and I'm here representing all of our people today to bring you this message, the good word of ROI. So I have about 10 slides, and I cut it back down to 6 or 7, and I'm going to, I'm sorry. I see this giant water in front of my face in the video. ROI is very complicated to actually get to a place where you can report out on it regularly, sustainably, and have it be meaningful and accurate, the kind of information that your cost accounting team would actually back you up on. I found that out personally because in our organization, Hartford Healthcare, we are a very digital-first organization. We rely heavily on technology. We probably collect too much data and we report out too much data. I might actually be the director of reporting at this point because it takes up most of my life. But if you attempt to get to ROI before your organization is ready, you're essentially going to have unsustainable failures. Now, failure's good because you learn from that, and in the process of getting to a place where we can have monthly accurate ROI reports for all of our campaigns, which actually number about 12 to 15 at any given time, I learned a little bit about medical coding, and I learned about cost accounting, and I learned about the Epic reporting team. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what I learned, which you can take back to your organizations if you're not at this place yet. So, first things first, not everything makes money right away. And I just wanted to take you through, this is essentially maybe 8 months or so of data. And the green line represents how far along we are to completion on attribution period. Meaning, until you're 100% complete in your attribution period, you shouldn't really expect to see a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 ratio for ROI yet, because you have to wait for all of that. So for instance, bariatrics, it can be a full year before somebody actually goes from filling out a web form or making a phone call, having a consultation, trying medical weight loss, proving that they've attempted medical weight loss, and then ending up actually having a surgery. So you can see here, as if you look at the HVI campaign, we're actually getting close to completion on attribution period, and we're beginning to show contribution margin overspent. And you need a lot of patience, and you need to have your leadership have a lot of patience, because you're going to be doing this for a year, and you're in data in terms of the Epic encounters, if you use Epic or Cerner or whatever you use, it's usually 2 months behind. So you have to wait for that data. On top of that, you then have to wait for all of the data integration within whatever platform you're using to be updated, and then you have access to it. So you're looking at 2 to 3 month old data at all times. Now, just really quickly, I just want to point out. What's that?
What, just what's the elements that go into
Yeah, so this is digital marketing only. So all we're calculating here in spend is the search spend, social spend, display spend, if we have any native advertising. It's basically all digital. So we're not calculating within here if we have any traditional mass media supporting the campaign. We have done that, actually, and that was back in the old days of hand cranking data. And actually getting all of that information it's a lot more difficult. This is very clean. We're also not counting revenue associated with all those other efforts, because this is only data for people coming in through web forms. That's it. We're not counting any call center data at this point, which I'm going to get to later. This is call center data, and you'll notice I didn't say ROI here because it's really revenue tracking. There's no way for us, well, there was no way at that point, and I'll tell you a little bit more in a minute, to separate out the call center digital marketing efforts versus just anybody calling our marketing call center because they saw the number in organic search or some other way. So this basically shows contribution margin and net revenue. And if you're not familiar with the terms contribution margin, net revenue, you also have in your files total charges, expected reimbursement, but contribution margin is the gold standard because it's the closest thing you're going to get to an actual profit. You're removing the cost of the supplies for the surgery, the cost of the the facility. It's all taken out. So the number is smaller. And if you go to conferences like SHMID or the what's it one? Healthcare Physician Strategy Summit in Chicago they have every year. Everybody's reporting out on net revenue and expected reimbursement. And they're doing that because it's actually very difficult to get to contribution margin, and I'll show you a little bit about that in a second. But also, as you can see, the net revenue is often double or triple what the contribution margin is. And if it's a very expensive surgery, you may actually only make $2,000 or $3,000 in contribution margin, but your net revenue might show $10,000, $15,000 per case. So you're actually telling a bit of a false tale to rely on net revenue or expected reimbursement. What is the journey to ROI? Standardization. You have to standardize your marketing CTAs, your data platforms. I'll just stick with that, so that you can get to measurement, so that you can actually have standardized data. You're not comparing apples and oranges, so that you now have actual knowledge that you can take action on, and then you can optimize your digital marketing spend so that you can increase your ROI and actually report on it. If you don't have any of these elements, you're basically not going to get there. So foundational requirements, right at the bottom, leadership, support, and patience. Setting up a digital marketing CRM platform or a call center or access center platform that has CRM and ROI capability, it can take a year easily. In fact, it usually takes longer than that. I've actually been through it 4 times now at Hartford Healthcare, and traveling around the country, speaking with other systems, that's not unheard of. A lot of people have many failures trying to implement CRM systems or trying to work with their marketing call centers to get to that level. So patience and support and dollars are key. You also need a committed and resilient project team, and that project team doesn't just consist of marketing. You need to find support in IT. You need to find support in cost accounting. You need to find that unicorn who's been around for 20 years that knows everything about what service line is mapped to what ICD-10 code. You need those people, or you're not going to get there. So, next level, standardized electronic health platform. Yes, you can have a couple platforms. This happened to us about 5 years ago, and we implemented with Allscripts here, and with Epic here, and with Cerner here, and it was a nightmare. There's no standardization, and if you don't have standardized electronic health records throughout your system, you're probably also not going to have cost accounting throughout your system, which is the ability to put the spend of your facility and your system into your revenue reporting. So you need that decision support and cost accounting competency, and you also need a supportive IT team that we call a Care Connect. It's our EPIC team. There's about 300 of them. But within reporting, there's 4 people. And we've made friends with those people so that we can create these very complex reports that go out every single month into a SFTP file, and then that's picked up by our partner Numerian and Conifer, which is our call center, and then they run those through their systems so that we can get the matching. CRM platform, there are a bunch of them out there. Most of you probably heard the news, eVariant was recently acquired by HealthGrades, making them, I think, the largest healthcare CRM, among other things, in the country now. In marketing discipline and operational standardization. In healthcare, everybody thinks their department, their service is different. So we need to call directly to my office here. We can't use a web form here. We can't use your call center there. We can't do a return call back there. We can't make an appointment right away. You have to get to some level of standardization so that you can actually get these people in the door. The calls to action are standardized. The data set is standardized. And the operational folks will follow through with that, so you can actually convert these people, these patients, these customers to consumers, to customers, to patients. And then, of course, time, data analytics and digital marketing resource within marketing. I actually, this was basically a full-time job of mine, just creating these reports and shepherding this project through to completion, multiple projects over time. I finally gotten to the place where we're able to secure a new position, which is a digital marketing analyst. And basically, that's all they do is data analysis for us. And I've essentially turned the keys over to ROI reporting to this person, and we work together every day. Trouble ahead. Timelines, don't believe them. Your timelines are wrong. Vendors' timelines are wrong. The going timeline's always 12 weeks. That's what every data integration team tells you. And it's total BS. You're just never going to get there in 12 weeks unless you have an army of people and nobody takes vacations and you have redundancy within every single department so that if somebody's out sick, you don't miss a deadline, you don't miss a week, you don't miss a month. I would say it's going to be more like 6 months at least to implement. Call center data is complicated. If you have an internal access center, chances are they don't have great reporting capabilities. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. If you have a marketing call center, which we do, like Barrel or Conifer or others, they do have that kind of capability to report, and they do have the ability to work with a company like HPRMS or somebody else so that you can begin to integrate that information. And what we're seeing right now is we're only seeing half, essentially, of our ROI because the call center data is still not integrated into our eVariant platform. We're actually testing that right now, and it should be done this month, which would be amazing. Ambulatory data. A lot of CRM systems just simply don't deal with ambulatory data. You have to force them into that. They look at you as a hospital, and even if you're a healthcare system like we are with home care and medical group and rehab and all of these other things, they basically will sell you a package that's hospital-based. All of them do this. So you have to really make sure your contracting is in place so that they're going to take that information in. Is service line granular enough? The answer is no. So if you run a campaign for heart and vascular and you have mitral valve and then you have aortic valve and you have electrophysiology and you see your ROI reporting and it just reports on the total revenue for all three, how do you know which one is performing? You don't. So now you could be spending, wasting 2/3 of your dollars because mitral valve is the only one that's making you money. So you need to get past service line. You need to get into sub-service line, which is a little bit of a nightmare. But you have to do it, or you're going to be in a trap later, and you'll never be able to optimize. That's that part about optimization. Imaging. Once again, imaging isn't a service line in most people's organizations. You can't see it. It's impossible to find because if it's a mammography, it's in cancer. If it's a lung scan, maybe it's in cancer, maybe it's in another service line. So you have to often get down into the individual codes to figure out where imaging is and sort of create a fake service line in order to market. And check your work because you're going to find mistakes. And you can be reporting completely inaccurate information and making really awful business decisions because of that, all because of bad revenue data. For instance, we actually showed a negative contribution margin of $1 million once. It was an accounting error. Whoops. And it actually turned out to be a coding error. Whoops. So we're able to use this ROI system because we were granular enough to get all the way down to fixing a problem at one of our hospitals, which would have shown $1 million loss when it actually was a profit. So check your work for sure. Share the knowledge. If you're not telling this to people, if you're not showing them the results, you're not going to make better business decisions. People are not going to understand what you're doing. We've gotten to a monthly reporting cadence. We call it a consumer activation report. It's jargon, but it's actually pretty good because we are activating consumers. And we report out on all of our service lines and sub-service lines every single month. It takes a month to put it together, but it's very useful. And of course, we do individual service line reporting as well. And that's it.